So Nikki Haley won her first primary in Washington, D.C. She defeated Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump just wrote it off that he didn't campaign in the swamp. He wasn't worried about D.C. He's going to drain the swamp. Another failed promise from 2016. He didn't drain the swamp. All Donald Trump did was make the swamp monsters even more vile and more disgusting. He brought out the worst in everybody. He hijacked the Republican Party, completely destroyed it. He muddied the swamp and made the swamp worse than ever. But Nikki Haley may be hanging in there in hopes that something happens to Donald Trump and then she would, rise to the top. I don't know exactly what her game plan is on that. But all along, she has said that she would endorse him, and she signed a pledge to do so. But now it seems like she's kind of starting to walk some of that back. Take a look at this clip, and let's come back and talk more about it.
Sounds like you are in a different place. Are people misinterpreting what you're saying? Have you moved to a place where you're no longer planning to endorse him?
Well, I think, first of all, if you talk about an endorsement, you're talking about a loss. I don't think like that. When you're in a race, you don't think about losing. You think about continuing to go forward. What I can tell you is I don't think Donald Trump or Joe Biden should be president. I don't think that we need two candidates in their 80s. I don't think we want a Joe Biden who calls his opponents fascists or a Donald Trump who calls his opponents vermin. No one wants that. I think people want a new generational leader that is going to go back to what the American dream is, what we want for our kids, in a place that's something that we can be proud of again.
Let me try.
Now, I will agree with Nikki Haley that we are looking to the next generation to see who the leader is going to be. I know we are on our side anyway. I don't know about MAGA. I know over on our side of the fence, we're looking at people like Gavin Newsom and AOC and Pete Buttigieg, and Jasmine Crockett's a favorite of mine. I would love to see those people rise to the top and lead in the future. But I don't know if MAGA is ever looking to the future. I think they're so caught up in Donald Trump, they think he's eternal. I think long after Donald Trump's gone, they'll be saying they spotted him at a Burger King somewhere. I mean, he's their Elvis in their own little world. But Nikki Haley has given that classic politician answer right there. She's dodging the question because she doesn't want to answer it. But I think she is starting to see through what's going on, and I think she is starting to dial it back just a little bit. Now, they try to pin her down on MSNBC and talk to her about the pledge she signed, and here's what she had to say about that. So take a look at this clip.
Let me try it this way. You did sign a pledge, an RNC pledge, to support the eventual nominee. Do you still feel bound by that pledge?
I have always said that I have serious concerns about Donald Trump. I have even more concerns about Joe Biden.
So is that a no? Are you bound by the RNC pledge?
The RNC pledge, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where, would you support the nominee? And you had to, in order to get on that debate stage, you said yes. The RNC is now not the same RNC. Now it's
So you're no
Trump's
longer bound by that pledge?
No, I think I'll make what decision I want to make, but that's not something I'm thinking about. And I think that while y'all think about that, I'm looking at the fact that we had thousands of people in Virginia. We're headed to North Carolina. We're going to continue to go to Vermont and Maine and all these states to go and show people that there is a path forward. And so I don't look at what ifs. I look at how do we continue the conversation.
Again, I would not vote or support Nikki Haley at all. But I really believe that once the dust settles from all of this and everyone is looking back trying to make sense of it, I think people are going to look back at things Nikki Haley said, and they're going to look back at things Chris Christie said, and they're going to say, maybe we should have listened. Maybe we should have thought that through a little bit more. They got so caught up in the mantra of Donald Trump that they've all took their eye off the ball so drastically. Donald Trump has completely hijacked the Republican Party. It's not even recognizable anymore. He's hijacked the RNC. They're paying his legal bills. He's in control of that now. And to whatever voices of reason they may have had left, they're dwindling away. But Donald Trump is not a guy that's going to be around forever. There's going to have to be a time when someone steps forward after Donald Trump is finished. And they're not looking ahead at that. They're so caught up in this story. They're so caught up in just wanting to own the libs that they're clearly not thinking clearly here. They're not. Because this isn't, again, I'm not supporting Nikki Haley, wouldn't vote for Nikki Haley, but I do believe she would stand a much better chance of winning against Joe Biden than Donald Trump ever will. But you can't get that through MAGA's head because they're too busy believing that the 2020 election was stolen. And they're pumped up to try to make it work for them this time. And what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over and getting different results. That's what we're seeing. They just keep trying to win with this guy who has lost with them every step of the way. He told them that they get tired of winning, and they keep losing, but they keep trying. I have never seen a scenario in my life. I live in Tennessee, okay? Do you know how many football coaches we've went through here in Tennessee in the last 20 years? I forgot their names. I don't even follow sports. I'm not even sure who our coach is at the moment, because the minute that something goes wrong, he's out the door. It's over. That's what normally happens, but not in MAGA's world. No, they hang in there, and they're behind this failure of a coach. They're behind this guy that cannot lead them to any victory, and they refuse to listen to anyone who might have a different idea or a different approach. So that tells you that it's not about the Republican Party to them anymore. If this was any other time in history and Donald Trump was any other person, if say Nikki Haley was here and you had any other halfway sensible Republican over here, none of this would be happening. They would be asking questions like, well, maybe we should listen to what Nikki Haley's saying. But they are locked in. They are obsessed with Donald Trump, and they are going to ride that sinking ship down with him. And it's just going to be another Jonestown documentary. It's just going to be one of those things where years from now, you're probably going to see people talking to MAGA voters the way that you see people talking to survivors of Jonestown and Waco. And when you go back and watch the survivors of Jonestown and Waco, there are some that says, hey, I really got played. I got sucked in by this charismatic cult leader, and I can't believe I ever fell for something like that. It was the worst time of my life, or whatever. Or I had so much post-traumatic stress from it. But then you still have those ones that still thinks Jim Jones is coming back for him. They still think David Koresh is going to unlock the 7 seals or whatever kind of crazy shit he was trying to do. So I really believe years from now, there's going to be people sitting around saying that he's coming back, or they still believe, or it was stolen. They're going to appoint him next week. It is a hell of a time to be alive, folks. It is a crazy world, but we just have to keep trying to be the voice of reason. One of my favorite, well, not one of my favorites, my all-time favorite comedian, Bill Hicks, once said that we live in a world where a cry butchered this totally. We live in a world where a plea for sanity sounds like sour grapes. And I relate to that so much, because as we're sitting here trying to plea for some sanity, MAGA's just coming back thinking that we're all full of sour grapes, but we're not. We're trying to hold on to a voice of reason. We're trying to hold on to the truth, and we're trying to keep democracy in place, because we all want to look to the future, and we want to look to who's going to lead next, and we want the opportunity to vote again. And I believe we can have that if we cast our votes for Joe Biden. I'm not so sure about Donald Trump.